Oh, hello.
I wasn't expecting this. It's a bonus episode from the Horror Guys.
What? Why are we here?
I don't know, but I'm Kevin,
I'm Brian.
and we're going to talk about some extra bonus horror movies.
Yeah.
Some bonus reviews.
Trying something a little different.
Yeah.
Just for an experiment, at least through the month of October, we're going to be doing our bonus reviews as a sort of bonus podcast.
Uh-huh.
If you're hearing this, you're already probably signed up to the bonus newsletter at horrorbulletin.com. And normally we don't record the bonus material. Those are just there for the newsletter.
We just kind of mention them and call it good there and just put it as text.
But Substack, the place that handles our email newsletter, also has a thing for podcasts, so we thought we'd try it out this month.
Why the heck not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bonus, so here's your bonus.
Yeah. And we're doing 4 movies this time around.
We are. You may have already read these, but now you can listen.
Yeah.
What do we got?
Well, we got The Thing That Couldn't Die from 1958.
Not that wouldn't die. It couldn't die.
Couldn't die. The Mephisto Waltz from 1971. And a cartoonish kind of thing, Birdboy, The Forgotten Children. And a 2014 movie, The Quiet Ones.
Shh, it's quiet ones.
Really quiet.
All right. And just in case you weren't aware of it, we have the 13th issue of Horror Bulletin Monthly magazine is now out. Go to horrorguys.com/monthly and you can pick that up in ebook format for pretty much any platform you do ebooks with.
Wherever fine ebooks are sold.
Or you can get it as a paperback. And,
The paperbacks look really slick.
flip through it to your heart's content.
I know
Yes.
I'm not impartial, but, they really do look good.
They are nice.
Yeah.
All right. What are we doing first?
Well, let's talk about The Thing That Couldn't Die from 1958.
And moldy oldie.
Yeah, black and white, directed by Will Cowan, written by David Duncan, stars William Reynolds, Andra Martin, and Jeffrey Stone.
Yeah, I looked at that twice too. It's not Andrea, it's Andra.
And, big names that you've heard of.
No, not so much.
It's kind of like, everything about this is kind of unknown and kind of, you've never heard of the people and you've never heard of the movie. And, yeah, just...
It's forgotten for many reasons.
Yeah.
Trailer in the show notes. Spoiler free, this one is okay in pretty much every way. Horror guy Kevin had never even heard of this one before, and it's clear why this one is not a classic. It's not bad. Everyone shows up and does the work. There's just nothing particularly exceptional about it. The story is pretty basic and ends very abruptly. You probably won't regret watching it, but don't feel like you need to make a special effort to hunt this one down.
And we actually saw the Svengoolie version of this, his take on it. Plus, I understand it's a Mystery Science 3000
No doubt.
movie, too, because, it's kind of that
There's
caliber.
a lot to poke fun at with this one.
There is, yeah. Well, spoiler, Gordon, Hank, and Linda watch Jessica with her dowsing rod. She's trying to find water, but she comes up empty. And she's saying that's because a doubter is watching her. She's, that flusters her.
No dowsing doubters here.
Gordon is the doubter, but Aunt Flavia knows Jessica can do the job. Her stick points down, so she's found something. Suddenly, she yells for the digging man to stop, though. There's something evil down there. Aunt Flavia overrules her. Jessica calls them all terrible people, says she hopes a tree falls on them. And a tree then does fall on Linda, so the digging stops temporarily.
That's a coincidence.
Yeah, it was, yeah, or not, yeah. Well, Linda is shaken, but she's okay. Jessica thinks she made the tree fall. I mean, it looked that way, certain, whether it was coincidence or not. And it was an evil wish, and she regrets it, because she's at heart, she's a good girl. Gordon still thinks it's all fairy tales, and Jessica tells them where to find the watch Linda lost last week. A pat rack stole it for its nest. And they do find the nest. There's also, in addition to the watch, a really, really old medallion and some other stuff down there. Well, Gordon then apologizes to Jessica. He's more of a believer now. And she admits that sometimes she hears evil voices, too. He puts the medallion on her, telling her it's medieval and benign, and she should keep it on for protection. Well, the diggers, back at that evil spot where she staked out, they find something. It's an old chest. And Aunt Flavia, she gets all excited, thinks it must be gold.
Treasure, treasure.
Yeah, but they can't get it open because it's solidly shut and sealed. Well, she wants to bust it open, but Gordon thinks the chest itself might be valuable, since there's a date of 1579 on the top. And he advises her to hold off, don't bust it. And there's a warning on top, actually. It says, do not open this accursed chest. But, of course, that's just superstition, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What could happen?
Yeah. Gordon thinks only Francis Drake could have been in the region in the 1500s, and he wants to open the lock with chemicals to preserve the chest itself. So he goes off to town to pick up what they need. Well, Jessica doesn't want to stay in the house with the evil chest, so she stays in the cabin with Linda. It's kind of like a guest house off of the main house. Ranch hand Boyd peeks through the window to watch Jessica get ready for bed.
Pervy time.
He's a perv, yeah. And then Boyd goes into Aunt Flavia's room with a knife and steals the key to the door where the chest is stored. They locked it into a room. Aunt Flavia was kind of paranoid, and she's actually got a locking purse. And he just cuts through the side of the purse, gets the key. His sidekick, Mike, is really strong, and he thinks he can open the chest without destroying it. Just kind of bend the metal seam things.
And if it's full of gold, who really cares if you destroy it? He doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No. Well, Mike does open the chest, and he finds a head inside.
What?
Yeah, not what they expected. And it's a living head. Opens its eyes, and it hypnotizes Mike. And then Mike kills Boyd. Flavia calls Jessica to help, and they find the chest open and empty. Mike wouldn't hurt anyone, Jessica insists. Mike carries the head around, and it notices the amulet around Jessica's neck. Well, Gordon returns, and he brings Julian Ash, the president of the Historical Society. Well, the police don't show up right away, so Gordon suggests that Jessica use her stick to find the wounded man. Does dowsing, I know dowsing rods, people do them, but to use it to find somebody like that, is that a thing?
All depends on the mythology you believe.
Yeah, I guess. Well, Julian reads the inscription on the chest, and the disembodied spirit of Gideon Drew was said to be inside. And while they're fussing around in the chest, no one notices that Jessica has wandered on into the woods following her stick. Well, Mike and the head of Gideon see her coming. Gideon can't speak, but he communicates with Mike telepathically. And Jessica gets a flashback to 1593, watches as Gideon is beheaded, and his head and body are buried separately. He is cursed to never die. He couldn't die. Well, Jessica wakes up from her flashback and finds Boyd in the hole where they found the chest in the first place. He's quite dead. Linda and Hank return at the same time that the police finally arrive. Linda opens the window and gets a face full of hypnotism from Gideon. Gideon, this I thought was a clever move on his part. He is still under controlling Mike, sends Mike toward the police with a knife drawn, and they shoot him. And, so they think case closed.
Yep, all done.
Yeah.
He's the guy.
Mm-hmm. And now they'll stop searching the woods and leave.
They don't know about the head.
Right, and Linda is his new minion. Well, Hank goes to talk to Linda, and she seems like a completely different person. Linda wants to try on Jessica's medallion, but Jessica won't take it off. Linda suggests that maybe Jessica can help them find the other casket, the one with the body. Jessica gets upset and storms off. And Julian suggests that maybe Aunt Flavia could do the dowsing rod, because the ability is supposed to run in families.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Can't argue with the science.
No.
Yeah. Well, Jessica lets Gordon have the amulet back before she gets in the car with Linda, who volunteers to take Jessica to the bus station. And then Linda gives Jessica a hat box. What a nice present. Except she opens it and there's a creepy hypnotic head inside. And now Jessica is under its power and decides not to leave the ranch. Now, Jessica suddenly wants to help find the other chest. And she changes to all black now because she's evil.
Yeah, that's quite a dramatic change there. None of the other hypnotized characters changed clothes or became evil-looking or slutted up or anything.
No, but she did.
Yeah.
Well, everyone goes out to the woods to look for the body. Takes a while, but she finds the spot. They all dig. Soon they find the coffin. Evil Jessica kisses Gordon because she's easy now. They lug the coffin back to the house. Jessica goes to get the head and winks at Linda conspiratorially. The coffin opens and the dead, headless body stands up. Yikes. Jessica walks in and hands it the head, and they become one. At last I breathe again, says the now whole Gideon. And then he wants blood. Gideon, he's very thirsty, very hungry, except he's very fussy. He does, I don't want your blood. I don't want your, Well, Gordon empties his pistol into Gideon, but that doesn't do anything. Gideon pulls a knife and picks around whose blood he wants to drink. Gordon pulls out the amulet, and Gideon screams and falls into the coffin, which they reseal. The amulet does its job and turns Gideon to bones.
Wow.
Lucky they found the amulet first.
Yeah, which just happened to be there.
Which just happened to be his kryptonite.
After 300 or 400 years, and they found it buried in the tree.
Heck of a coincidence, yeah.
Well, it's really obvious that they took the musical cues for Gideon straight from the creature from the Black Lagoon. Da, 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 da. That's not it. That's not it. I've forgotten it already.
But you'll recognize it if you've seen both, yeah.
They overused that little tune so much in Creature that it sticks in the memory pretty easily. It's hokey and pretty dumb overall, but not badly made, and I wasn't bored. It's definitely the kind of story that was written to scare an 8-year-old, though. But other than that, it's...
okay.
It's all right.
It's okay.
Not great. What's next?
I don't know, because I've lost my place. The Mephisto Waltz from 1971.
There you go.
Yeah, which was directed by Paul Mendicos, written by Ben Maddow and Fred Mustard Stewart.
With a name like Mustard, it's got to be good.
Yeah. This stars Alan Alda, Jessica Bissett, and Barbara Perkins.
This is Alan Alda like 5 or 6 years before MASH. He was I don't know that I'd ever seen him in anything before MASH other than this.
But all three of them were pretty good, I don't know about huge stars, but all three of them had done lots of stuff before this, and all three went on to do lots of stuff after. So this was kind of in the midst of their careers.
Hour and 55 minutes, trailer in the show notes. What happens, spoiler free?
Well, it's a nice mix of things you see coming and things you don't see coming. The music is a little overbearing, but the cast is good and the story is interesting. All three of the leads are recognizable faces who continued on to do lots of other things, and it's strange seeing them so young here.
Alan Alda's like, what, 110 at this point?
At least.
He's getting up there.
Yeah, he was a young feller here.
Yeah.
And the two leading ladies were like, wow, they were really young then. Yeah.
And the old guy, Kurt Jurgens, he went on to be the villain in The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yes, he did.
No,
not The Spy Who Loved Me. One of the Bonds.
Yeah, it was that one.
It was
the guy with the undersea base.
Yeah. With the webbed fingers.
Yes. I think it was Spy Who Loved Me. Who was the main villain in that, if not him?
I think it was him.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Well, spoilerific here. There's a really annoying cat that wakes up Miles and Paula Clarkson. I guess the cat's not there. Is it just they're woken up by a loud cat?
Yeah.
Well, Duncan Eli calls, and his daughter Abby answers the phone. Miles is a musical journalist, and he's got an appointment with Eli, who's world-renowned for his playing. Eli is arrogant and grouchy, but he wants to hear Miles play. Miles went through Juilliard, but wasn't good enough to become a pro. Eli, it's spelled strangely. Eli likes his hands. He likes those hands a lot. Eli's daughter, Roxanne, likes his hands too.
And immediately, that's when I said, he's going to take over his body.
Why would you think that?
Just, the way he was admired, I'm thinking he's old. Here's a fit young guy with beautiful, perfect, piano hands. He's going to somehow possess him or take him over or something.
Well, there's a dinner party, and Eli discusses death. Roxanne thinks Miles should be a concert pianist, but he has no confidence. Still, he plays a duet with Eli, and he keeps up with the old man. Eli's dog doesn't like Paula very much. The next afternoon, Roxanne, Eli, and his entourage come to visit Paula's boutique. Just to help out on their opening day, he claims, but Paula wonders why they did it. Are Eli and his friends just generous and eccentric rich folks? Paula's assistant remembers reading about Duncan Eli's wife being murdered by a dog. Eli has many nosy questions about Paula and Miles. It's like the old man is studying Miles.
But yeah, she's not entirely wrong. They are being suspiciously friendly and generous.
A little too nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Duncan Eli then throws a costume party, and even the dog is wearing a mask.
Yeah, that was unsettling.
What mask was it?
William Shatner mask.
Same as in the same mask from the Halloween movies that came out like 6 or 7 years later.
Uh-huh.
It soon becomes obvious that Roxanne is more than a daughter to the old man.
Ew.
Kissy kissy.
You.
It quickly gets a little too overwhelming for Paula, who goes upstairs to get away from the crowd. She wanders into the office and finds some weird-looking occult stuff, as well as a very angry guard dog. Roxanne comes in and mentions that she wants to do a face mask of Miles. Not long after, Miles sits for the plaster work. While he sits there, Duncan stumbles in and he's not healthy. Miles goes home really late, and Paula is both jealous and annoyed. "I hate Roxanne," she snipes. "I don't want you to go there anymore. They're too damn friendly." Miles explains that Duncan has leukemia and is going to die soon. Well, that makes it okay.
Yeah, well, it does soften her opinion a bit.
Miles actually donates blood to help the sick old man, and he passes out afterwards. Roxanne gives the sleeping man a funny look and says, "Goodbye, Miles." We then see Roxanne draw a pentagram on the floor while the old man recites from a book in his bed. She feeds Duncan some of Miles's blood and puts a blue dot on Miles's forehead. At midnight, the old man dies, and she places Miles' face mask over the old man's corpse.
Switcheroo.
Miles wakes up and admires himself in the mirror. He stumbles downstairs and looks at his hands. Those young hands. Miles then goes home to Paula, and he likes what he sees there, too. At the funeral, Roxanne does more spellcasting, and most of Duncan's friends are right there. They're either all in on it, or they don't think it's strange. Then it's time for the reading of the will. Miles gets a Steinway and the entire collection of musical scores, as well as $100,000 in cash.
Cha-ching.
And we did a little check on that. That's like almost $1 million today.
A lot.
Roxanne gets everything else. Miles starts forgetting things he ought to know, and Paula notices that he's also a lot more romantic than he used to be. It must be all that money. Roxanne gives their dog to Abby, who falls in love with the animal, but Paula says she has to give it back.
Abby's their daughter.
Yeah.
Who's not really in on a whole lot.
No, I don't think she shows up much after this, does she?
Just to die.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Miles has given up smoking and doesn't like the scotch at home. Roxanne gives Miles a key so he can play on Duncan's grand piano anytime he wants.
Almost like he's a different person.
Well, it's really technically his inherited piano, but he has no room for it in his little house.
So he visits Roxanne a lot. Wink,
A
wink,
lot,
wink,
yes.
Wink, nudge, nudge.
Visits in more than a piano kind of way.
Yes.
Paula thinks Miles wants to be someone else. He's changed. Roxanne and Paula watch Miles playing, and he's gotten a lot better. Roxanne says she can fix it so Miles can take over Duncan's scheduled concert tour this Friday. Now, the guy had
Slide right into
leukemia
it.
and knew he was about to die. Why would he sign up for a bunch of scheduled concerts, that extend well after his predicted death time?
Optimism. Plus,
Or
he knew this was coming.
up, I guess.
Yeah, he planned this was coming. Yeah.
Paula dreams that Duncan comes for Abby. Sorry, it's part of the bargain. He puts a blue dot on her forehead as she sleeps. Abby comes in and she's had a similar dream, except she actually has a blue dot on her forehead and a fever to match. Abby then dies in the hospital shortly thereafter. That escalated real fast.
It did, but that was the price for the exchange. Yeah.
Paula thinks Duncan had something to do with it, even though he's dead. She remembers Roxanne's occult book in the library, so Paula starts researching things, starting with Roxanne's ex-husband, Bill. She wants to know if Eli's former wife was murdered by their dog. Well, Miles does the concert, and he's great. Afterwards, he's more interested in Roxanne than Paula.
So is it still incest if you're in somebody else's body? There's a moral question.
Well, technically, I guess it'd be different DNA.
Yeah.
So, no.
Yeah. Spiritually, it's spiritually incest.
Yeah,
I guess.
definitely.
Yeah. Physically, it's no longer. Yeah.
Bill is there at the after party, and he talks to Paula about Satanism and the murder of Mrs. Eli. Roxanne sees him talking, and Miles is offered the rest of Duncan's tour all over the country. Because, everybody who'd heard of Duncan Eli wants to go see this nobody.
Yeah, that seems weird. Yeah.
Bill and Paula meet the next day, and he says he doesn't believe in the devil. They end up back at his place, and he says they play with witchcraft so they can do anything they like. He thinks Duncan got Roxanne pregnant, which led to a miscarriage. The next morning, Paula finds Bill's dead body on the beach, and he's got a blue dot.
Yep.
She tells the police that her husband killed Bill. Not really, but someone who was using his body did it. The police are not real impressed with that story.
Yeah, for some reason they're skeptical about that.
Paula goes home and has a dream that Miles and Roxanne sneak into her bedroom. She tells them she knows what's going on, and they put the blue dot on her. Paula dreams that Miles and Roxanne have sex right there in her bedroom while she sleeps. Was it a dream?
Yeah, I don't think it was.
Maybe.
Maybe.
You can't tell.
You can't tell for sure.
She gets in the car and goes to Roxanne's house. She breaks in and takes some of the blue liquid from Roxanne's office. The guard dog then attacks her, but she grabs a knife and kills the dog. This dog, when the dog dies in the movie, that's always bad, but this dog kind of had it coming.
It did, yeah. It was a bad dog.
She takes the blue stuff and the magic book and leaves. She wrecks the car on the road. She wakes up in the hospital, and the doctor thinks she may have had a minor stroke. She thinks they did this, just like with the others. Her friend Maggie says Paula should get a divorce. No, she wants to keep Miles, even if he isn't really Miles. He's better now that this old man's taken over. He's not the same, but he's better.
He's okay, yeah.
Paula starts studying the satanic book. She then does her own ritual. The literal devil walks in, and she's ready to bargain.
And that was really neatly done, I thought. You don't see the devil. She's on the
footsteps
floor.
outside the door.
You see the clip-cloppy hooves under the door, and then the door opens, and you see this big looming horned shadow. Yeah, that was neat. That was really well done.
Low budget, no special effects, but it's still well done.
Yeah.
Well, she rushes over to Roxanne's house and tells her the master is on her side now. Paula pushes her down the stairs to knock her out, pulls out a syringe to get some blood, and completes her own ritual. Well, Maggie then comes over to Paula's place later that night and finds Paula dead in the bathtub of a suicide, with a face mask of Roxanne over her own face.
Only her body is dead.
Maggie thinks Miles and Roxanne made her do it, but over at the big house, Miles comes home, but Roxanne seems a little different now.
Yep, made her own deal. Took over Roxanne's body.
So now it's incest again.
No, not at all.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's just the married couple. Yeah.
Oh, this is complicated.
It is. Yeah, it's not. No, no longer incest.
Well, this one is probably most noteworthy for having a pre-MASH Alan Alda as its star. As soon as Duncan expressed interest in Miles's hands, Kevin said he was going to steal the younger man's body.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, he called it. It used way too much of the blurry, dreamy effect, especially for some scenes that weren't really dreams.
Yeah, maybe a little overused.
Some of the scenes you really couldn't tell, was this a dream? Well, I think all of it was real, but the blurry effect, you kind of thought maybe it was a dream.
Yeah.
So you didn't take it too seriously at first.
Yeah, I think you were supposed to, though.
Yeah. There's also way too much repetition of the same song over and over. It got old pretty fast, even if it is the source of the name of the film. All the music throughout is loud and overbearing. That may just be the mix of the copy we had, but I don't think so. I think it was just, too much music.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
The twist at the end where Paula does the ritual as well was pretty much unexpected for both of us.
Yeah, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, so basically Paula wound up with Duncan, which wasn't the outcome I was expecting.
Mm-mm.
I guess it's really bad if you're... Oh, I mean, Roxanne was evil. She had it coming.
Yes.
Miles didn't do anything wrong.
No. He was a good guy.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
a little twist ending there.
Yeah.
So it takes us up to 2014 and The Quiet Ones, directed by John Pogue, written by Craig Rosenberg and Oren Moverman, stars Jared Harris, Sam Claflin, Olivia Cook, hour and 38 minutes, and there is a trailer in the show notes. This was, we did this one in our Hammer Horror book. So if you want to read more, check out the Horror Guy's Guide to the Hammer Horror. What is it? The
Horror
Guy's Guide to the Hammer
Hammer
Horror, I guess.
Hammer Horror.
You'll figure it out. It's horrorguys.com/books. It's the Hammer one.
You know you've done too many books when you can't remember the exact
Yeah,
title.
exactly, yes. But I did not hear about this one when it came out.
No, me
I don't
neither.
think this one was marketed very well.
Yeah, it really went under the radar.
Yeah. What happens?
It was okay, yeah. Well, we start at the University of Oxford in 1974. Professor Joseph Coupland is giving a lecture about a case he worked on that involved a ghost. And some of his students get upset and quit the class.
Ghosts. That's nonsense.
Yeah. He approaches Brian, one of the better students, to work with him and document his experiences on film. Well, they record a girl, Jane, who sees ghosts, and had one that inhabited Evie, a doll. A steam pipe burst during the interview. Well, they keep her locked in a cell for her own protection. Things would happen, furniture would move, things would catch on fire. The professor doesn't think it's schizophrenia. Don't look into her eyes, warns the professor to Brian. Well, they want to prove that she can project telekinetic energy, and if they can, they think they can cure mental illness for good, which is kind of a leap, I thought.
Yeah, some of these old bad science horror movies, they're like that. We can cure all of evil with this discovery. We can wipe out all mental disease with this discovery. We can beat death itself.
One of those, yeah. Well, the professor tells the story of David Q, the child in the opening video. He could do telekinetic havoc. And the professor thinks it's all mental illness. He doesn't believe in the supernatural. Well, the provost pulls the funding for the experiment, so they need to move Jane. They blindfold her and take her to an old place out in the country. They hypnotize her and finally get to hear from Evie. They repeat the experiment later. This time they burn her with a candle. Yeah, this is just, the science, the ethics of the experimentation here.
It's a mess.
Yeah, it's a mess. This was, human subjects are supposed to follow quick, very regimented rules on how you can treat your subjects.
Torture is usually frowned upon.
Throw these out the window for this movie, yeah. Well, Brian objects to the way they are treating her. And that night they find her mutilating herself with cuts. And in one session, she describes a fire, and the doll in her hands burns up. And then something strange comes out of her. And they do catch it on film, but it's really distorted. Joseph calls it teleplasm. Eventually, Evie makes herself known and bites the professor on the hand. Brian starts thinking it's all fake, and the professor is a fraud. Brian smashes the Evie doll. And right at that moment, June falls over bleeding, almost like they're connected. Well, they take a photo of her aura, and they can literally see Evie in the photo. So the question becomes, did Jane create Evie, or does she control Evie? And more, it's starting to look like Evie came from somewhere else, which suggests the occult. And the professor is completely unwilling to accept the idea. He thinks it's all just science. It's all mental. Harry and Chris go back to Oxford. Brian goes back there to do some research as well. Brian finds out that Evie is actually an ancient demon, caused a lot of trouble in 1954, and it now possesses Jane. Everyone fights with Joseph. And they also learn that David Q wasn't Joseph's son, and later on was the victim of a suicide.
Oh, he was Joseph's son.
Oh, he was Joseph's son. I misread that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I had that mixed up. Well, symbols? Sigils, that's how you say that word. Sigils start burning into all four of the scientists, and within a minute, Chrissy and Harry are dead. Jane figures it out. She's Evie Dwyer, and she's the survivor of a cult. She killed the entire cult. Joseph ties Brian to a chair, and he plans to kill and resurrect Jane. Brian knocks out Joseph and brings Jane back from death. But has Evie left Jane's body? No. Jane does a quick, spontaneous human combustion trick, and the film ends.
Poof.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, since it takes place in the 70s, this is as much of a period piece as any of the other Hammer-type films. It's just a different period. The main story alternates with Brian's video footage, giving it a bit of a found footage feel without actually being found footage.
Mm-hmm.
Every time Evie shows up, the sound gets super loud and distorted, and the camera shakes all over. It's really annoying, and it takes a lot of the fun out of the movie. You don't have to pay a lot for special effects, but don't spoil what you've got.
Just shake the camera, when in doubt.
Yeah. It goes on for too long, and it's really not that interesting. It was nice seeing the scientific side of the investigation, but the main plot itself wasn't interesting, and the ending was just not so good. Yeah. What's next?
Birdboy, The Forgotten Children, a animated film from 2018, which was directed by Alberto Vasquez and Pedro Rivero, and the runtime is 1 hour 16 minutes.
Trailer in the show notes,
There
like
is a
always.
trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, this one is available, I think, on Shudder. It's just recently came to Shudder. It's a 2018 movie, but it's just released in this country with subtitles. So it's a subtitled cartoon even.
And it's not for kids.
No.
Don't think your children should watch this.
Well, we see how the land was taken over by industry and pollution, and all the people had to go to work in the factories. Then the nuclear bombs wiped out the island, killing nearly everyone. Now, later on they explain that it was, wasteful pollution and all that, but it's very clearly atomic bombs.
Okay. Yeah.
Now it's all a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Of course, this is all before the child that we're talking to's time, so he doesn't remember what life used to be like. These are two rats out scavenging in the garbage. The scavenger rat's child wants to see inside the old lighthouse, which looks like it's still intact, but his father warns her never to go there, as not everything with a body is alive. What? Birdboy wakes up in his nest, takes his pill, and flies through the dead trees. Dinky gets up, takes his pills, gets a load of guilt from her parents over not going to church anymore, and then she whines that they don't understand who she really is.
So basically the animals have taken over the world and they're as intelligent as people now. It's kind of a fantasy kind of thing.
It's not quite clear how that works. I mean, you're right. There's mice and there's other animals going around, but there's no real explanation for it. There are no humans. Sandra, the loco, hears voices that tell her to do bad things. Dinky explains to Sandra and the little fox that Birdboy has a demon inside him that's eating him up like a parasite. Outside, we see Birdboy's hands reaching for her jar of happy pills. Everybody has happy pills. The trio inside talk about moving to the big city, but they don't have any money to get a boat. Could they steal it? Dinky writes to Birdboy and asks him to go with them. Zacharias the pig is a fisherman with a boat, and he hates having to deal with Birdboy. Zacharias brings in drugs, and he gives them to Birdboy. Birdboy takes them and passes out.
Happy pills.
Yeah. He brings in the drugs, the only thing that helps Birdboy control what's inside him. Birdboy then takes the drugs and has a nightmarish dream about flying monsters that eat his guts out. Yum. Well, the police are hot on Birdboy's trail because Birdboy's father did something really terrible and they killed him for it. Zacharias' mother is sick and in pain upstairs, but he warns her not to over-medicate. She lays on the guilt trip too. Oh, and his mother is something. Yeah, this one's hard to explain. She's a giant pig, because he's a pig.
They're pigs, yeah.
But she's really a big black spider that crawls out of the pig's nose.
Like the spider is driving the pig.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the three kids are downstairs stealing Zacharias' piggy bank. They barely escape the killer spider, the mother, before Zacharias kills it. Back on the dock, the police have found Birdboy and are shooting at him, and he runs and jumps into the boat for shelter.
So animals have guns, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He flies off, but the policeman shoots him in the back. Birdboy then crashes into the dead woods and must walk at that point. He goes into a dark cave with only the light from a firefly to follow. Inside is a world of green, untouched by the atomic horrors of the rest of the world. After spending some time there, the old bird who runs the place tells Birdboy that he needs to go back to his own people. Well, the scavenger rats that we started out with find Dinky's walking alarm clock and keep it. There's a whole little sub-story about this alarm clock and Dinky's father giving it legs and making it walk, and it's like a sentient alarm clock. Another rat comes and gets territorial, and they fight to the death. Back on the mountain, the voices in Sandra's head tell her to kill Little Fox, but she ignores them. We get a flashback showing us that Birdboy and Dinky were boy and girlfriend. Dinky, Fox, and Sandra make it to the junkyard where they run into a greedy scavenger rat. He tells a sad story about how he lost his hand for stealing. They ask about Hangar 27, which is where they're heading. The old rat offers to show them the way. They arrive there and meet Uncle Klaus, who deals in contraband of all kinds. They want a boat. They can't afford a good boat, but he offers them an inflatable duck boat. It's basically like an inner tube with a duck's head on it.
And, of course,
and it talks. Yeah.
Because it's that kind of movie.
The boat begs to go with them, and it tells a sad story about losing his family as well. Birdboy has gone back to his father's lighthouse. It's full of demons, and Birdboy releases the one inside him. He then finds a photo of himself and his dead father. The three kids run into a rat gang who beat them up and take everything. They are marched into Rat City and talk to the leader of the rats, who calls his scavenger people the Forgotten Children. Back at the lighthouse, the kid's parrot runs into Birdboy. The demons all go inside Birdboy, which makes so much noise that the rats hear it on the other side of the island. The demon attacks the rats as the children make their escape. This goes badly for the rats, as the demon can breathe green fire like a dragon.
Cool.
Dinky doesn't want to leave because she recognizes Birdboy. Demon-possessed Birdboy claws at Dinky, but she hugs him and calms him down. Birdboy flies back to the lighthouse, which has now been activated. The kids ride the rubber boat through a storm, and the boat sinks, because it's just a little inner tube after all.
Poor little ducky.
The police arrive and shoot Birdboy. Sandra wants to save Dinky, but the voices tell her not to. From out of nowhere, Zacharias arrives with his boat to rescue the three children, but Birdboy sinks to the bottom of the ocean and drowns. Dinky goes home to her horrible parents and listens to them scold her for skipping school today. The next night, Zacharias reels in Birdboy's corpse on his fishing line and watches his soul fly away to join many others. Dinky sees them outside the window and follows them all as they lead her to the Cave of Green. The end.
Very weird.
Very weird. It's an interesting but bleak world full of strange talking animals, animated trees, sentient alarm clocks, and a bunch of other stuff. Most of the characters battle their own internal demons, which are shown here literally as black things with red eyes. We meet lots of characters and see lots of things, but it all takes a long time to finally come together and make sense. A whole bunch of stuff happens until it all ties together.
Yep, stuff happens.
It's weird and very surreal, and it's probably not for everyone. Definitely not for the kids.
Would you give it a thumbs up overall?
If you're into surreal cartoons, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Straight up horror, no, not really. It's just weird. It's a weird.
Creepy
weird.
and unsettling, and yeah. Well, of these, I'd give Mephisto Waltz definitely my best thumbs up, my strongest thumbs up.
Yeah,
that was very entertaining, very watchable.
Actually, none of these were super great, actually.
Oh, the Mephisto Waltz, I thought was very good.
Low key special effects, movie of the week kind of stuff, really. But it was good. It was well done.
Yeah, right. I was entertained by that one.
So our first bonus podcast has 4 movies that were not outstanding.
Yeah.
We have chosen poorly for our first episode.
Well.
Okay. All right, well, what did you think of this? You liked the bonus episode in your newsletter feed? Let us know.
Yeah.
Email us at email@horrorguys.com. Let us know what you think.
Feed us back.
Hey, we've also got a giveaway. If you've made it this far.
Margot.
It's about the...
a smart house.
A smart house that goes badly. Yes, we've got 5 promo copies to give away.
Alexa on steroids.
Don't say that too loud. Lady in the Tube on steroids. Yes.
Oh,
yeah. Email us. Email address is called email@horrorguys.com. Say, hey, I heard on the bonus podcast that you're giving away a movie. And I'll send you a promo code.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it for this week. We will have another bonus episode for you in probably 2 weeks. 4 episodes in a show. And 2 episodes in a bonus episode. So, yeah, be 2 more weeks.
Until then.
Yeah, I'm Brian.
I'm Kevin.
See you in 2 weeks.
See ya.